Hello, and thank you
Hello.
very much for coming, Astrid.
No worries. Nice to
So
talk
I've
to
got
you.
I've got a series of questions for you, mostly about like your degree at Cambridge and getting in, and then some about YouTube.
hmm
Um, so I'll just start off. Well, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, hi, if you don't know who I am. I'm assuming you know who I am. Jokes, that's so conceited of me. Hi, if you don't know who I am, I'm Astrid. I did 3 years at Cambridge doing English as an undergrad. I'm now studying at home doing the law conversion course at BPP Waterloo or BPP University of my bedroom. And after that, I kind of want to go into law, but I'm not sure if I want to go into law straight away, so I'm just sort of vibing through life, and I've been vlogging since the end of my first year.
Cool. So you studied English. Can you tell us what that is like as a degree? Like some people would imagine it's just learning grammar and stuff like that.
So at Cambridge, there are like two types of module, if that makes sense. So everyone has to do something that's unique to Cambridge, which is called practical criticism and critical practice. So everyone does practical criticism and critical practice for their full 3 years, and that is a bit similar to like English literature GCSE, an unseen test, if that makes sense. Like, at the start of your exam, you might have an unseen piece of analysis where you have to comprehend something you've never seen before, just at like a much higher level. So you're writing complex essays about a text you've never seen before, about a poem you've never seen before. And that is something you do all the way through your degree. And then alongside that, you have the other modules, which are starting from the medieval period and going all the way up to a book that might have been published yesterday. And you do that for your first 2 years. And then your third year, you choose specialist modules. So you can choose to specialise. And the way that the course is taught is each week there's a rough theme. From that theme, you might choose one essay title out of 7 essay titles. There will probably be one set text you have to read or two set texts you have to read, and then there'll be a list of optional stuff. You choose what you want to read from that list of optional stuff in a way that follows your interests. So if there's lots of stuff on gender, you might choose to read all the texts on gender rather than all the texts on magic or something. So you can choose that route you want to go down. You then write your essay, hand your essay in. Your supervisor chats to you about your essay for about an hour, probably with another person in the room. You chat about each other's essays, you read each other's essays, and you take that idea a little bit further. You then file it away and do exactly the same thing for 8 weeks.
Nice. Thank you for that. So which A-level subjects did you do and which ones do you recommend for English at Cambridge?
Cool. Yeah, so my A levels are really weird and definitely not what most people would do to do English. For English at Cambridge, you actually only need to do English Lit and one other essay based subject. So I did English Lit, German, and Maths to A2 level, and then Biology to AS level. Um, I briefly dabbled with classical civilization, which is a bit like English Lit but with really old stuff, but didn't like it, so I switched to German. And German counted as my other essay subject. So for English, basically you can kind of do whatever you're interested in, but you definitely have to have English Lit. Or if your school doesn't offer English Lit and English language combined, English language isn't good enough in general, unless if your school only does English language, you'd have to email someone at Cambridge admissions to see if that was okay. And then another essay subject. But most people tend to have done all creative subjects, though there is quite a common theme where people have like loads of creative subjects and then they have maths as well. So it's kind of whatever you want. Like my best friend did German, English, RPE, and art. So that kind of thing.
That's cool. And did you get like the standard A star AA offer?
Yeah, I was predicted A star AA and got A star AA by some sort of miracle, considering I got a U in my maths mark. Like
Oh,
3 months
you really,
before the exam started, I got a U, so that was fun. But yeah, I
yeah,
somehow managed to get an A star AA, so yeah. But that
Well
was
done, you really
quite
turned that around.
yeah. But that's common. That's a common offer, especially as I came from a private school from the south. My friend from a state school in the north got asked for AAA because that was more impressive compared to the average at his school than mine was compared to the average at my school.
That makes sense. How was your interview like?
Yep, so I spoke about this in my Cambridge interview experience video, self promo. But my interview was really chill. It was two unseen text things. So half an hour before the interview started, I was taken to a room. There was an envelope. There was a poem in it. I read the poem. I made some notes on the poem for 25 minutes. I then went to my interview. The interviewer was like, "Hey, how are you?" I was like, "Cool." Sat down in the sofa. It was a sofa, which was wild, and was like way squishier than I thought. So I fell like back into the sofa, which I don't know. I was so embarrassed at the time, but I'm sure happens all the time. I was like, "Oh, it's not on a desk, and the sofa's squishy." And then the first question the supervisor asked me was literally, "Can you just read the poem to me?" And I was like, is this some sort of trick? He was like, "No, it's not a trick. I just want to hear you read the poem." Probably to put me at ease. And then he was like, "Right, what does the poem say?" And I was like, "Oh, like what's its complex meaning?" He was like, "No, can you just like go through stanza by stanza and say what the line of the argument of the poem is?" And then we got into more complex stuff with the poem. We probably spoke about it for about 15 minutes and tied it to other reading that I had been doing. And then we spoke about general English lit. He literally asked me, "What's your favourite book? What's the book you last read?" Luckily, the book I'd last read was something I really hated. So I was like, "Oh, I actually really hated the last book I read." So we spoke a bit about like how you can hate a book. And it was really, really chill. Like, obviously there was analytical stuff going on, but I wasn't aware of it, which I guess is kind of what they're trying to do. And both interviews followed that same pattern. I didn't have to talk about the essays I'd submitted, though I know that does happen in some interviews at different colleges where you have to chat about the stuff you submitted. So reread your stuff. And there weren't any questions directly linked to my personal statement and stuff I mentioned in my personal statement. But again, that might have been just because I chat so much and like I don't stop talking, so there might not have been time for that, and it might be normal common practice to like pick up a sentence from the personal statement and like ask a question. I am just a chatterbox, as you might have noticed.
Okay, great, thank you. How did you prepare for your interview, and what are your interview prep tips?
So like I didn't, which is really bad, because basically, to get real deep, my mum passed away in October of my year 13. So when people are like, "How did you prep for the admissions test or the interview?" it's very much like I managed to get out of bed for it. But in my free time, I basically distracted myself by reading loads, which is all I can really recommend. It's just like, if you're doing a subject, make sure you've read stuff in that subject. Like if you're applying for NatSci, like maybe have a look at the BBC News science section or something. And like, you're probably doing that anyway if you're applying for that subject. But like, I was just like listening to podcasts on English lit or reading books that were interesting to me. I didn't do anything specific, and I don't think you have to do anything specific. Like people often message me like, "Oh, what book do I need to have read if I'm going to my Cambridge interview?" And they don't care. They just want to see that you have an interest in the subject. They're not going to be like, "Oh, well, this person hasn't read the Odyssey, so they're not coming in." They want to see someone who's got an interest. So if you've got an interest, just like keep doing what you're doing, I guess. Like you should be preparing for the interview anyway just by existing, because you love your subject. So naturally you're probably doing a little bit more for that subject at A level, if that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. And like, I'm really sorry to hear about that. Like, mad respect for getting through that.
Now that's chill. I probably got in on extenuating circumstances.
Sweet. And yeah, do you have any study tips as a very high achieving English graduate? Do you have any tips?
Just do the work. Like, I didn't do like mad above and beyond. I've always just done like everything that's set, but like a tiny bit more, maybe. Like, it's not like I'd spend ages going above and beyond the reading list. It's just like, make sure you're putting in a decent amount of effort consistently. Like, lots of people ask me like, oh, what's your best GCSE prep? And my best advice is always like, just work sort of hard consistently rather than chilling and ignoring stuff and then suddenly going, oh, I've got to do loads of work for my exams. I think consistency is the best study tip. Like, if you're consistently doing 5-6 hours a day, then you don't have to do 14 hours the week before an exam because you've already done that prep work. And my other study tip is like, find something, it's very niche, but like, find something that works for you. For me, I have to listen to lo-fi beats because I get distracted by other noises and I can't work in silence. So I think finding the right acoustic vibe for your study is really important, because some people just work to pop music and I'm like, that cannot be helping. You look guilty. Do you work to pop music?
No, I usually do classical.
Yeah, good vibes. I get distracted when I listen to classical music. I don't understand how people like listen and work to classical music, because I start listening to the music.
I kind of zone out. Like, anything that's got words in it is what I can't listen to.
Yeah, people who work with stuff with words are mad.
Yeah. Moving on. So someone asked, what do you want to do when you leave? Which I guess isn't a very... Well, I guess you've answered that, haven't you?
What I want to do is eventually I want to be a commercial solicitor working for a London firm. But at the moment, we get lots of job rejections, so I'm not sure if that's going to be happening anytime soon. But that is the ultimate end goal.
Someone asked if you want to do a PhD, but I guess you probably are not planning on doing a PhD.
I'm not. I'm in the process of potentially applying for English Lit Masters, because the law jobs I'm applying to don't start until 2023, so I'll have a year out, and I want to do something. Like, if I have a year where I'm not working, I would quite like to be thinking about books and keeping my brain going. And if I suddenly find a niche that I'm obsessed with, I might do a PhD, but I'm not going to do a PhD for the sake of a PhD. If I find an academic idea that I really want to do for 3 years, I might do a PhD. But unless I have the thing I want to study, I'm not going to do one. So it's not on the cards at the moment.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. About social life, when did you feel like you found your people at uni?
3rd year? Like, genuinely, it took me a really long time. Like, I have a great group of friends from 1st year who were my friends through 2nd year as well. But when I started rowing in 2nd year, I got a new group of friends, and then I have a friend at King's, and through her I met a ton of people at King's at the start of 3rd year. And then it was only in 3rd year that I started feeling settled with the the various groups of people I know. What happened with me is I never found my group of people. I'm a floating blob that is a part of various groups of friends that, we just exist. My friendship groups exist in certain contexts. Like, I have a group of people at King's that I will quite often go to a formal with them, but I don't see them in any other context, and they don't socialise without me outside of that context. So we have like groups, and I have my group of girls I row with, and we don't hang out as an 8 outside of rowing. I have just like groups of people that I know through various activities, and I don't have like a solid group of friends. And I think the idea that you're going to have 7 people that just are your vibe, and these are the 7 people and you do everything together, I think that happens for some people, but it doesn't happen for a lot of people. And I think people who are like, oh god, I don't have my group, can feel quite lonely because they're like, I don't have a group. But actually it's okay to have loads of individual friendships, and it might even work better for you that way.
I mean, you sound like a social butterfly.
I'm not. I'm just I have a crippling desire to feel like I need to be loved. So I I just make jokes and make people laugh because I'm so insecure.
Nice.
Vibes, straight vibes.
Here's a question about your vlogging.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel pressured to vlog every aspect of your life at the expense of privacy / quality time with friends? Or have you achieved a balance between cameras being on or off, if that makes sense?
Yeah, 100%. That is something that I definitely decided quite early on what I wanted. And what I wanted was to show enough, but not too much. Because honestly, no video should exist with me and my friends after a bottle of wine at formal. Like, that video doesn't need to be on the internet in any way for people to view. And neither does anyone need to see me crying, because I think that can be potentially triggering. So it's all about striking a balance between what needs to be seen to give off the right impression of what's realistically going on and what's actually happening. And often I think it can be a case of telling, not showing. So I can vlog and say, I'm going to formal with my friends, X, Y, and Z will probably happen, and not showing that, because you can know where I'm going, but you don't need to know what I'm doing there. You can just assume it follows some sort of pattern. And again, with like mental health stuff, you don't need to know an in-depth analysis of everything that's going on in my life, because I have my own life. And actually, I get really mad when people leave comments on my videos like, why don't you show us X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, because you don't have to see that. I'm allowed to have stuff that you don't see. And I think I'm really chill with the balance of what I strike. And it's basically like, what do I feel comfortable showing? It's pretty easy for me to like decide that. But other people can get really mad when you don't show everything. And I'm like, you have no right to access my life, and you have no right to complain. Anyway, that's just a little bugbear.
Okay, but I see where you're coming from. Yeah, you want some private life as well.
Yeah, because you don't need to know. Like, yeah.
Anyway, something a bit nicer. Who's your favourite author?
This question is not nice, because that's impossible. Like, you can't ask someone who loves books who their favourite author is, because, I don't know, I've read like 100 books this year already. How am I supposed to have a favourite author? Yeah, I'm such a nerd, I'm sorry. From like... So my area of English lit that I really like is like materiality in the Renaissance. So from that regard, my favourite author is Thomas Nash. But that is not what the question's asking, because if anyone tried to read Thomas Nash for fun, they would have a migraine and cry, because he's not fun. He's really interesting to sit down and tear apart for hours on end. So my favourite author in an academic sense is Thomas Nash. My favourite author in real life, I always find Christopher Isherwood really easy to read. Evelyn Waugh's also really good. Let's try and think of some women, because those are all men. And Erin Morgenstern's really good. I've just read 2 books by her, and they're both like, is Erin a girl's name? I've just read 2 books by them, and they're really good for like fantasy escapism. Margaret Atwood is also banging. I love Margaret Atwood. And Angela Carter. There you go. That's a list. That should hopefully give people enough to start with.
Yeah. So in terms of YouTube, you said you started at the end of first year, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when would you say
end of first year.
When would you say it really hit off?
Well, I mean, it still hasn't. So I got like a big surge in subscribers at the start of second year, because of like moving back to uni vlogs and stuff. Recently we've stagnated a little, and there was like slow growth to 1,000 subscribers, and there was quite fast growth from 1,000 to about 6,000, and from 6,000 to 11.7 where I am now. It's been really slow. Like, it's like getting fucking blood out of a stone. It's just not. Which, I mean, fair enough, because I don't know, there's probably less demand for English lit vloggers and like science, because all the big ones are scientists. So, though Ruby Granger does English lit, but she's been vlogging for like 7 years. But like Paige, Ibs switched to PBS, didn't he? So Holly Gabrielle, there seems to be more demand for like STEM vloggers than humanities vloggers, which is part of the reason I started anyway. But yeah, I've just not really hit off, but I love my subscribers and we love I've met a couple on like people have come up to me before in public and said they subscribe to me, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's so cool that people actually watch my videos. But yeah.
Okay, you kind of touched on the next question, which is why you were inspired to start a channel.
Yeah, so the main reason is like most of the vloggers who are really big are like not disabled, so I wanted to change that and show, because I think it's really important to see representation at Cambridge, and whilst I'm like a white woman and therefore quite well represented at Cambridge, I hadn't seen lots of stuff before I came about depression at Cambridge or diabetes at Cambridge, so I thought that that would be like an interesting voice to throw into the mix. And also I have terrible memory loss because of, we're not really sure, I don't know why, but I don't really remember stuff that happens in my life. It's probably like a depression PTSD response thing. So if I didn't video my life, I would literally forget stuff, and I was finding that I couldn't remember stuff that happened in my first term and second term, so I was like, oh, I can make a little video record of it and watch it back when I'm 30 or whatever and want to feel nostalgic. So that as well.
Do you keep a diary as well, or is it all videos?
I do actually keep a diary sometimes. I did a lockdown diary where I wrote in it every day, which was a lot. But now I just I have a little book and I write down thoughts occasionally, just because, yeah, it's good. Writing stuff down's really good. It helps clear your head. And yeah, I do have the memory of a sieve. I take loads of photos as well. Like whenever I meet someone, even if I meet someone just for coffee, I'm like, I'm taking a photo of this, because then I can scroll through my camera roll and remember what I did on each day. It's just something I've always done.
That's cool. And where are you like aiming to go with your channel in the future? Are there any big plans?
The dream is obviously to hit 100,000 subscribers, because I want a little silver plate or whatever it's called. But mostly I just want to keep doing stuff that is useful to people. So for as long as I'm studying, I will probably keep the YouTube channel going. Recently people have asked for loads more stuff about books and makeup as opposed to vlogs. So that might be a route that we go down, but I'm not sure yet. I know there's a whole thing called BookTube. Having been in StudyTube, some people from BookTube have found me. So maybe that's where we're going, because if I want to be able to do it alongside a career, it can't be vlogs anymore, because I can't vlog myself going to work if I ever get a job. So it's going to have to be something different, and it's going to have to be something more creative, but we'll just see what happens, because if it doesn't grow much more, it's not like, it's quite disheartening if your channel's not growing and it's like, oh, maybe no one really wants to see this, so it might be the end of the channel in a couple of years. We'll see.
As in, I'm sure people will look back at your videos, like there's always going to be people who want to hear what a Cambridge student has to say.
Yeah, exactly. Like people might look back on it, but I'm not sure how much need there is for new content, because I've covered most of the topics that people want to see from me for now, I think.
Okay. And do you have any tips to prospective YouTubers or vloggers?
Just do it. Like, I think that's so much of the thing, is that like I've wanted to do YouTube for as long as I can remember. Like I was a 13-year-old who's like, I want to do YouTube, but I was always like, oh no, other people might judge me. And now I know that other people are judging me, but I don't care, because I'm making content, people are watching it, and sometimes I even get some cash money, so who's laughing now? But yeah, like, don't be scared of like what other people think, because honestly, who cares? And just bang out as many videos as you can in the early days, because your first videos are going to be terrible. I think it's Ali Abdal that says like, your first 100 videos are going to be rubbish, so just get them done, put them out there, and keep going. Also, get a proper set of lighting if you want to do it properly, because at the moment I just have to film when my window has sun coming through it, because I have no lighting. So I just have to like film during daylight hours with my camera to make sure that I look lit.
I use my desk lamp, plus I've taken my housemate's desk lamp.
Yeah, yeah, you
Thank
just light
Alex.
yourself like. I've got like a little light on my desk here, which I like use to light my face.
Sweet. Okay, I think that's all the questions.
Oh, sick.
Sorry, one more question I missed. Did you start getting bad results and then improved, or were marks consistent?
So first of all, I'm a perfectionist, so my idea of bad results is like not doing the best that I can. And during my first 2 years at uni, I was consistently getting 2-1s, which are good results. But I was always so frustrated that I could never scrape over that 2-1 to first boundary. Like at one point, I was getting a 2-1/first, which is like a high 2-1, and I was like, oh, I just want to like make it over that 2-1 to first boundary. And I got a 2-1 in my part 1 exams, so at the end of second year, and then managed to get a first in my part 2 exams, which is my final grade. Would that have happened without lockdown? Who knows? But yeah, I was like, I consistently worked hard and I consistently did well because a 2-1 is good, even if my little perfectionist brain tells me it's not. But I really like managed to push over the edge and just like do slightly better. Basically, in my second term of third year, things suddenly clicked into place and I was like, I now know what I'm doing and things feel right. So it took me a long time to get there, and that's a good thing about Cambridge is that your grades up until third year tend not to count. So you can settle into finding a way that works for you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Look, congratulations on your third year result, the one that actually matters.
Thank you. Thanks. I cried when I saw it because I didn't think it was possible. So there we go.
Okay, I think that's all the questions I have there. Is there anything else
Cool.
you'd like to say?
Nah, it's sick that you're doing this. But
Oh. Thank you very much.
shall I end the filming on my side then? So you don't have loads of like preamble, exit rambling.